It's wild to me that the minute Charles was introduced in the popular series Let's Play, scores of readers became so divided and pressed by this fictional man, and not in the good way. To this day, over an incomplete series, Charles is accused of being just the most terrible villain fictional human being to grace Webtoon. Worse than Rashta from Remarried Empress to some. Why? Because Charles is mature, 30, is the main character's boss, and could potentially be paired with the main character. Is all that enough to condemn him? Apparently to some. And to that I say, calm the fuck down. Here's why you're wrong. Greetings, adorable, sparkling individuals. Welcome back to Day Day Does, a channel where you get to watch me draw and talk about fandom / storytelling things. For those of you new here, you're in for it now because I just finished reading Let's Play by Mongi for the second time, and I have a lot to say. But for this video specifically, I'm going to focus on the unfair villainization of Charles, one of the male love interests of the comic series Let's Play. If you can't handle a brutally honest review, but fair opinion about how everyone and their mothers needs to calm down about this man, then please feel free to watch something else on my channel. There's no shortage of videos. For everyone else, gather around, my lovelies, as I lay out my defense case about why Charles from Let's Play is the most character-assassinated fictional man that I have seen on Webtoon. It's even gotten to the point that certain pockets of Webtoon readers accuse him of being a groomer, a rapist, abuser, evil mastermind, etc., which again are not terms to just lightly toss around, especially on a character who has never exhibited such reprehensible behavior. I will say that the term evil mastermind isn't that bad though, but it is a wild stretch. Like and subscribe if you're feeling my content. I do have an upcoming review of this series in the works, and just like this video, I'm gonna be straightforward about what works and what doesn't work. So if you want to get notified when I drop this video, hit the notification bell to always stay up to date. Now let's get to it. Starting from season 1, episode 1 to episode 75, I read and examined Charles's behavior with Sam and anyone else so I can get a feel for his character. And for the most part, it's pretty consistent. Charles is your quintessential, sophisticated, formal, emotionally mature, well-groomed career man. Literally my type of man, lol. But to some, this type of man is a turn-off, and that's okay. We all like different flavor of men. There's nothing wrong with that. What is wrong is making up false claims to slander this fictional man when he hasn't done anything atrocious. To be fair, Charles isn't perfect, and he does exhibit some asshole moves that nearly had me slapping this man across my phone during the reread. So the first infraction we're going to focus on here is when I reread and remembered that Charles actually made Sam fetch the office coffee, clean the cups, and perform grunt data analyst work when she is capable of so much more, I was about ready to slap him for the hella demeaning behavior. Like, bro, really? Why are you looking like a snack but acting like a bitch? And from his smirking face, Charles knows that his behavior is not it. He knows he's doing Sam dirty. And why Sam specifically? Why isn't everyone else getting the same treatment? Hence why I will give some haters a point here. But then, episode 34 happened. In episode 34, Charles explains to Sam why he had been so hard on her and giving her these tedious tasks that are clearly below her skill set. According to him, he had been testing her as a way to prepare her for the role of CEO and hoping she would assert herself when she's had enough of what he throws at her after being informed by her father that Sam was to inherit the company and be his boss. So to his logic, if she's going to be his boss, the CEO, and carry the future of his career in her hands, she's going to need to have the backbone and moxie, as he puts it, to make it in such a male-dominated industry. And Charles is not wrong here. The type of business that hinges on persuasion, sales, and high-level clients with thousands and millions of dollars at stake is heavy stuff. And if you come across as like indecisive or weak, they will eat you up. As Charles pointed out, her weakness is her father's strength. So if she can learn to think bigger in terms of decision-making and have the confidence to back it up and stand up for her company as well as her staff, she'll be a force in the industry. I can't say it's the worst way to test Sam's readiness, but come on, Charles. There could have been better ways, especially because Sam is such a meek and sheltered girl. Anyone with eyes can see that Sam stepping into the role of boss is going to take some work, and pushing her buttons until she snaps isn't going to be the breakthrough he thinks it is. I do appreciate that Charles explains his actions and apologizes to Sam for the behavior, and Sam was receptive to the apology. So if Sam isn't holding a grudge when she's the injured party, then I'm not inclined to hold one either. It's not like Charles actually did it because he enjoys watching her suffer. It was literally a test, and while not the best test, Charles is sorry for having put Sam through all of that, especially when Sam tells him she doesn't actually want to be CEO. So in the end, the professional jerk behavior was not that serious. Next on the list, the coffee incident. To start with, the coffee stain on Sam's camisole is distracting. There is literally a huge wet stain on her shirt that's uncomfortable for her, and considering Sam has never worn clothing in the office that is tight and revealing, Sam's direct words, not mine, I can understand her getting a lot of stares from everyone in the office. I could also see how Charles's words of distraction for those in office could be misconstrued as her female assets are distracting to the male populace in the office, and that's definitely not Sam's fault, nor should she deserve to be punished for it. Charles calling her into the office and reminding her that her attire doesn't follow office policy was jerkish of him to say, because obviously Sam knows that, and it wasn't her intent to distract those in the office when the wounded party is Sam herself. Charles acting like a dick here ties back to his professional jerk persona in testing Sam to stand up for herself. Although I will say it's funny that he should say, "Seek me out if something like this happens again," when Sam would have no reason to even go to him for a problem like this because of his professional jerk persona. Like, that backfired on you, buddy. Also, on another side note, her male coworker staring at her during the whole Sam's copy shirt incident doesn't really come across as leering. In fact, they're illustrated to look more like, what? Rather than ogling. If anything, it makes Sam's situation come across as an uncomfortable, embarrassing accident because Sam is super uncomfortable. Should Charles have ordered everyone to look away? Yeah, that would have brought more attention, but he could have done that. Him not doing that, however, hardly means he's creepy and gross when he wasn't even leering at her to begin with. And if Sam's boobs were smaller, he would still have said the same thing because it's a white, skimpy camisole with a huge coffee stain down the front worn by a female coworker who has only ever worn oversized, shapeless clothing that never showed her figure to begin with. Like, it's quite a change. Also, and this is to Sam, but like, baby girl, why would you fold your arms under your stained camisole covered boobs instead of over it? You're trying to hide the blasted side of your boobs, right? Why on earth would you put your arms under your boobs? That only emphasizes what we're trying to hide. Like, you're supposed to put her arm over it to cover the embarrassing stain and also her assets, you know? Like, putting your arm under your boobs only emphasizes the chest and it like puts it front and center, which is the exact opposite of what she wants. So like, Sam, what are you doing? Baby girl, make it make sense. Anyway, the whole coffee incident is so minor because Sam would have gotten a jacket from her dad's office to cover up the embarrassing situation. And then after that, end of story. Charles even gave her the literal shirt off his back to help her cover up, which was unnecessary but funny, I can't admit. But it's a romance jinx, so I'm not going to label his unintentional seduction method of the female lead as gross or problematic. Charles was acting totally appropriate and within professional boundaries, his shirtlessness aside. Aside from noticing that Sam has a female body and that she's attractive, there's no romantic official moves made here by him. Like, can we please touch some grass just for a little bit? So the coffee incident, not that serious. Other than those two incidences, everything else with Charles is kind of tame. We see that he likes riddles and fencing and obviously having his sexual desires met, especially when the women that he chooses to engage with consent wholeheartedly. Which brings me to having sexual experience is not a crime. Bruh, I can't believe that I have to bring this up. Someone having past sexual experiences is not a crime. You wouldn't slut shame a girl, so stop slut shaming Charles for having a good time with consensual partners. Charles being the one with the more sexual experience does not make him a predator or gross. Sam being a virgin and having no experience does not make Charles a predator or gross. Knowing how to pleasure your partner or teaching them things in the bedroom is not problematic behavior. Like, holy shit, enough is enough. This reason, asinine. Trauma and baggage from previous relationships is not an excuse to villainize. I'm just putting this one out there in case anyone wants to add this reason about why they should hate Charles. I'm not going to condemn people for disliking him, but if the reason is because of his trauma and baggage, please kindly touch some grass. No one is owed a perfect pass, and just because people become victims of circumstances doesn't mean that they're terrible people or it's their fault. This is pure victim blaming, and it will not stand in the house of Day Day. This reason, asinine. Season 2. In Season 2, we see Sam start to care more for Charles, and he as well. It starts to surpass professional level affection and go into something that can be deepened depending if both parties want to push it that far. Charles mentions that he likes confident women, which, by the way, is the opposite thing a predatory groomer would want from their victims. They don't want people who have confidence in themselves, boundaries, or can stand up for themselves because it defeats and undermines the control that they want over their victims. Charles helping Sam find confidence, love, and growth in herself is literally the antithesis. The opposite thing that he would want from Sam if he did intend to take advantage of her. Seriously, this man loves when Sam is assertive and puts her foot down. Personally, I also love how Charles is mindful of Sam's fragility and journey to gaining social confidence. We see all through season 2 Charles encourage Sam to stand up and take pride in herself, which brings me to the self-love sessions. I wouldn't call Charles a monster for employing exercises that would help someone with anxiety and major self-deprecating issues find a way to better and see the value in themselves. You could argue that maybe he shouldn't be the one doing it, that it should be a professional. And while true, Charles is not a terrible creep for trying his best in a workplace environment. It's not like if the exercises have no effect on Sam, she's going to spiral into a horrible depression and hate herself even more. We see the type of person that Sam is. She stood up to Marshall and his treatment of her game roommate. Marshall harmed Sam far more than Charles ever did, and she not only gave him a tongue lashing, but managed to withstand the hate and derision she received from his online fans. And if anyone knows how the internet works, a sudden influx of hate is not something that everyone can handle. But Sam did. Through it all, she endured. And if she can endure that, she can withstand Charles's attempts to make her feel good about herself. Like, this is not the hill we have to die on. And if Sam truly hated the exercises that Charles was encouraging of her, she would have let Charles know, just like she did when she did not want to give the client presentation to Indigeneer in episode 112. Not to mention Charles is only bothering with Sam's professional aptitude because she herself expressed wanting to do more. That way it can benefit her developer career. So if the truth bombs that Charles is releasing sound a bit harsh, it's because he's being truthful, reasonable, and professional. If Marshall had come up with self-love sessions to Sam instead of Charles, I know for a fact that everyone would be silent and nobody would be saying peep about it. The double standard between Charles and Marshall is just glaring. So this reason, it's just not giving. Manipulation. Is it evil? This is another reason I see people throw around as to why Charles is the worst, a monster, creep, predator, groomer, etc. He is described as manipulative by both Sam's father and her brother Jay. Now, already I have to side-eye both of those characters, and I won't go why too much because I'll do that in the Let's Play review video that's upcoming. But because both Sam's father and brother dislike Charles and have had bad opinions of him with little evidence to back that up, and yet, despite that coming from Sam's father, Samuel, he still employs Charles and puts him in charge of everyone in the office, including his precious baby girl, Sam. If such a man really was so terrible, no way would Samuel hire Charles and put him in charge of his daughter, who we see he is so overprotective over. Like, even if Charles's skills as an employee is brilliant, he wouldn't do it. Like, if you really thought someone was so toxically harmful, you would not give them the power or the opportunity to be around the people you care about. I will admit, though, that Charles is a manipulative character because we see clear examples of it in the series, but that begs the question, is manipulation a bad thing? Because let's be honest, everyone manipulates. Hell, persuasion is literally one tier below manipulation, but it's still inside that like branch family. No one is a saint or above manipulating others. The real harm and toxicity is when people use it against others to the point of it being harmful. All throughout the series, I paid close attention to Charles and when he would use his manipulation tactics, and honestly, it's not that bad. Anytime he does it, it's for the good of the company, which is his job, or Sam herself, which is unnecessary but nice. Charles is not acting evil, hateful, malicious, or for his own interests while harming others. He's not some Bond villain who orchestrates the hero's downfall or intends to steal away Sam's virtue. During the meeting where Sam almost lost her company, the sale in episode 85 and 86, Charles using manipulation in this case is necessary because it's his job to make sure that the company gets money. Did he orchestrate it like some evil mastermind? No, he just adapted to the situation, and in the end, Sam's truthfulness made the client feel more comfortable working with their company in the future. So hey, mission accomplished. In episode 117, Charles is seen lying and manipulating Samuel into getting his shit together. Why? Because Sam asked Charles to. Charles would have calmly carried on with his day despite his boss on the floor acting really dramatic. This is a normal occurrence at work, and the reason Charles intervened was because Sam was genuinely worried about her dad. He used his manipulation for Sam's benefit, even though it brought him grief and even more dislike from Samuel and destruction of Charles's property. Like seriously, his phone was crushed over a fib that was not even serious. Like fucking Samuel. Anyway, Sam later discovers that the excuse of contacting Sam's mother and tattling was literally all a lie from Charles, and she let him know with no hesitation that it was wrong and Charles should not have done it. Good for Sam for standing up in what she believes in, by the way, and expressing her thoughts. Charles does express to her that this strategy that he used was the only one he could think of that would get Samuel out of his funk and stop worrying Sam. It's hardly an evil skill when it brought order to the office and relief to Sam. As I said earlier, everyone manipulates someone over something. It can be as small as persuading a child to stop screaming in a public restaurant to malicious crimes like scamming people out of their money. It's how you use it that's the key here. Otherwise, in an ideal world, manipulating anyone would be a bad thing. And while on this subject, let's not forget that Sam is also guilty of manipulation and lying. As Charles points out, Sam has lied to her father numerous times, the most glaring example being her opinion on being the next CEO of Young Technologies. While she never said anything, not saying anything is considered lying by omission, thus manipulating her father into being happy for the time being because he thinks Sam will take over. It's noble, but it's still murder, so to speak. Another example would be in episode 112 when Sam snuggled up and got close to Charles, touching his chest, using her cute doe eyes and soft pleading voice and shy demeanor to convince Charles to not make her do the client presentation to Indigeneer when it was her idea and proposal in the first place. Like, girlie went all out to appeal to Charles' attraction and sympathy despite Charles choosing Sam to present being a reasonable choice considering it was her idea apart from her job description and something that will benefit her in the long run considering it's what she told him that she wanted to do that would benefit her professionally in the future. In the end, Charles caved and let Sam off the hook, and as soon as Sam got what she wanted, she jumped out of his arms and put distance between them, which gave Charles whiplash and a lot of confusion because baby girl was really feeling it for her. Whatever the reason, it's still manipulation. And of course, there's later in the series when Sam goes to Monica for help to seduce Charles. That's also another form of manipulation. In the end, as I've said before, manipulation itself isn't bad, it's how you use it that matters. Enough said. Reason valid but misguided. The boss/employee power dynamic. Hot or problematic? See, now this reason I can understand. The discourse around this is something that should be discussed because there are terrible toxic bosses out there that make moves on subordinates that want nothing to do with them aside from a professional relationship. That is something that definitely needs to be called out on. That there is an uneven power imbalance that should not be taken lightly, especially when the employee has zero footing to refuse should they wish to. Which is why the boss/employee romance trope should always be written with the employee having a choice and some equal footing that does not jeopardize their employment and threaten their livelihood. In this case, despite Charles being Sam's direct superior, we can argue that if anyone has a shaky ground to stand on, it's Charles because Sam is a nepo baby with a CEO father who owns the company and already dislikes Charles and threatens to fire and deport. Another discussion video for another day. Trust me, this one gets me so hot when I think about it. But yeah, threatens to fire and deport him every other episode. Like, this man is just walking on thin ice. I applaud Charles for not letting it get to him because I would just hate to work in an environment knowing that my boss dislikes me despite the excellent work performance that I give him. Like, that literally could not be me. Hell, Sam even has her own office room away from Charles's office, so the proximity or peer pressure isn't even a factor here. Charles isn't even an unreasonable boss either. As his secretary, he asks of Sam what she is well capable of giving in a professional setting. An example being is that, she dressed appropriately, i.e. business dress code, since she's a client-facing employee and presentation matters. Also, Sam asked Charles to move up from her previous position so she can learn and utilize all that she learned so she can pursue her developer career. Her being a secretary isn't some manipulative tactic that Charles orchestrated to get more face time with her to seduce her or whatever. And considering he is one of Sam's love interests in the story, her being his secretary is a great way for them to interact and have the chemistry play out appropriately. Not to mention, this setting and dynamic plays just wonderfully into Charles's character. The sophisticated, mature boss man and his awkward but capable ingenue secretary, it'd be out of place to put them anywhere else, like a gaming arcade or like a fencing class, considering their personalities and hobbies. The meet cute would be harder to come by as a result and not essentially charged like in an office setting. Of course, some people aren't into that, and that's completely valid. The boss and employee workplace romance trope isn't for everyone. Hell, I'm super picky myself because it really depends how they set it up. For example, the What's Wrong with Secretary Kim manhwa just really doesn't catch my attention. It just really depends on the person and their taste. There's an audience for everything out there in the interwebs, and workplace romance is no exception. So can we conclude that the boss employee trope is harmful and uneven in the series? Yes, actually, but for Charles, not Sam. Does that showcase Charles abusing his power towards Sam? No, it does not. There is no example anywhere in the series where Charles actually uses the power dynamic to harm Sam. So the reason? Valid, but misguided. The start of their situationship. Now, in season 2, Charles officially begins feeling some feelings for Samara Young. From his previous encounters with women, we know he's not looking for anything long-term or like really serious. Like, Charles is emotionally unavailable and wants more of a quid pro quo type of relationship. As a result, Charles doesn't want to admit to himself that he has growing attraction to Sam at first. But as soon as we see that he does, he begins to finally admit that he's hella into Sam. Evidence provided in his kiss with Sam in episode 123 and 124. As for Sam, she wasn't sure about Charles at first because he was always so hard on her at work, but even she admits that he's kind of hot in the coffee incident when he takes off his shirt unnecessarily. Her noticing his beauty goes on to the point homegirl incorporates Charles's blue eyes and his sophisticated voice to Karma, her little sexy dream man that comes out to play when she's feeling amorous. Like, Sam was the one who really wanted to push things into the next level, even after Charles told her he wasn't in it for the long haul. She still wanted a piece of that cake, and you know what? Good for her. They're both consensual adults who know what they want, even Sam. There is absolutely no shame in that. As they both agree to enter a carnal situationship, Charles makes it clear what he can and cannot bring to the table. He laid out the rules, and Sam made it aware that she understood that he's emotionally unavailable, but she still wants her needs met. Also, I love how she lays down her view on Charles's own self-deprecation. Like, this man come across a little self-deprecating, and she pretty much gives him a taste of his own medicine when she's like, hey, don't call yourself that, and pretty much turns the tables on him when he tries to help her. Now it's her helping him. In conclusion, there was no coercion, no miscommunication, no peer pressuring to get into each other's pants. So the cries of Charles being this predator who targets on innocent Sam has absolutely no basis or leg to stand on because it is false. A very clear evidence point is when Charles deals with an unhinged, horny, drunk Sam with such a straight face, like at the end of season 2 in episode 127. Charles never once during the entire encounter crossed a line with her. He never behaved inappropriately despite Sam's brazen attitude. As a result, we can safely conclude, to which he himself admits, that Charles believes in consensual intimacy. And in this house, we stan a consensual king. Season 3. We enter season 3, and to continue from the last point, Charles wants intimacy with Sam if she consents to it with a sober mind. Nothing else will do for him. He is also always so attentive to Sam, even to the point where he throws himself off the bed in episode 128 to make sure Sam doesn't hit her head on the floor when she falls off the bed. If that isn't proof that this man cares about Sam and would never do her harm, I don't know what is. The sex is not graphic. It is what it is. They are both consenting adults with needs and maturity. Someone's inexperience in sex does not make them childish or infantilizes their experience as an adult. And someone's experience in sex does not make them evil or predatory or categorize them as a groomer. Anyone who thinks the opposite is literally toxic. A complaint that I've heard often is that the sex scene, particularly when Sam performs the Big O flower panel thanks to Charles, is too graphic and explicit for a teen comic. For that, I say I can't vouch if the audience was intended for teens, considering a lot of the themes and the story itself is centered around fictional adults and their adult experiences. However, I will say, more like laugh, that the O panel is not explicit. It's actually a pretty great allusion to the fact that Sam just had a great time. You don't see legs, you don't see anything below stairs, you don't even see like a hint of that. Sam is still clothed and Charles's hands are all above board. The flower is the most tame and safe reference I have ever ever seen to date of a woman getting her O. We didn't even see her make like a crazy face like some hentai materials floating in the internet do. So I'm not sorry to say, but this argument of the comic being too explicit isn't the argument some people are making it out to be. At most, you see heavy petting, kissing, and semi-naked couples in beds with sheets covering everything. It's like a fade to black scene in books. Hell, in another panel in episode 153, we see on Sam's nightstand that protection was used, which is great because we would never have known that about Charles and Sam because Mongi doesn't draw anything explicit to begin with. What she does is illustrate symbolisms and illusions. If people find the heavy petting and kissing hot, it's because they have a good imagination and can infer what's going on from that alone. People aren't stupid, so this reason, pretty much misguided. Trauma and control. In season 3, we discover a lot more about Charles's previous trauma with his ex, who turned out to be preggo with his ex-best friend's kid, and she led Charles to believe the baby was his until they were born, and the physical features were clearly not anything of Charles. As a result, Charles developed control on his life as a coping mechanism, and wanting control for yourself after losing everything isn't a bad thing. It's actually quite normal. So as long as you're not trying to control others, controlling yourself and your life is perfectly fine. In episode 141, Vicky tells Abe that the type of control she feels from Charles isn't something that would harm Sam. At most, Charles's control is something that might hold him back because he's unable to let go of his past trauma. This is speculation, of course, because we don't know for sure because the comic hasn't addressed or reached the point where we figured out what Charles's issue is exact. There's layers, I feel, with his control and the chain illusion. It's a couple of things combined and not just one, but at the end of the day, if Vicky and Abe aren't rushing to Sam's rescue, then this is just like a canon event that has to happen. Charles does have flaws, don't get me wrong. He's obviously jealous and affected by his past trauma, but that doesn't make him a monster for it. Maybe his relationship with Sam will sail, and maybe it won't. It's not the end of the world. Reason, not it. No label equals what? So something that I noticed the second read through is that the relationship Sam and Charles entered in is a situationship that is very lightly touched upon. What I mean is that aside from Charles laying down his boundaries and Sam mentioning that she wants her needs met, there's no in-depth talk about what the situationship entails. There's much nuances to address, and one of those is the talk of exclusivity and how much to reveal about oneself to each other. Technically, in a situationship or friends with benefits, there is no requirement or expectation to disclose personal facts or intimate past details about oneself. If someone volunteers, cool. If they don't, hey, it's fine too. Charles disclosing his past dating history, specifically with Eva, isn't required because aside from the sexy times, he doesn't owe Sam an explanation because they're not officially boyfriend and girlfriend. However, I will say this, if Eva or anyone from each other's past becomes a threat, whether physically, verbally, emotionally, or just threatens either Sam or Charles for simply getting involved with each other, then we need to start spilling secrets. No one should have to deal with a crazy ex. In this case, mostly Sam. And I say this because in episode 151, Marshall had to distract Ava from seeing Charles with Sam. And why is that if they don't have any type of relationship except for a past physical one? This is speculation on my part, but judging from the dialogue and past inferences, Ava is pretty into Charles and he had to break it off because she was so attached and he wasn't into that. Ava bashed Diana when she found out Charles was carrying on a physical only type relationship with her. Imagine what she'll say or do to Sam if she finds out that Charles is not only in a situationship with her, but is also falling for her. When I read this scene, I realized that even though they don't owe each other details because it's only a situationship, Charles should pretty much tell Sam about Ava, especially if she becomes a problem for Sam later on. This isn't a problem with the situationship itself, but something to be mindful of going forward should Ava become antagonistic towards Sam. Just wanted to put my 2 cents in there because that scene, it was interesting when I noticed it. Charles in love or in lust? This is my speculation. From the panels in the series, I can safely conclude that Charles is falling hard for Sam, for what she represents to him and for the feeling of safety and comfort that so many have felt before him. I could liken it to him being in love, but I'll reserve using that word until I get a more confident feel of the story. For right now, I can safely say that Charles is thirsty for Sam. Like, he has it bad. He is so into her, he can't think straight sometimes. Like, his attraction to her is hot and heavy because He tries to reel in his lust, but sometimes it just slips, and neither Sam nor myself are really mad about that. It's gotten to the point that this ninja is hella jealous of Sam being near other men. This is partly because of his trauma, which he needs to go to therapy for, but also because competition for the girl who is technically still free to date whoever, because y'all ain't exclusive, does leave room for Sam to get wooed away from Charles, which leads to episode 176, where Sam catches Charles with her phone in his hand. The bright green light around his eyes represents that jealous green monster shining through and his need for control. It's a delicate line he walks, but not something that makes him a villain, especially when he hasn't forced his will on Sam or peer pressured her into doing something she does not want to do. Which brings me to the last few rapid fire complaints that I just wanted to address really quick before I wrap up this video. Charles has never harmed Sam. Charles has never harmed Sam emotionally, physically, verbally, or spiritually. There is no evidence in the series, and if you think that there is, please let me know, because I could not find that shit and I searched high and low. At most, you could say Charles was hard on Sam at work, but it stayed professional and never to the point where Sam's overprotective father found him a threat enough to fire Charles for his treatment of Sam. I will also admit that Charles has said some harsh truths, but it's always because Sam asked him for his opinion or an answer. Not to mention, Sam has been known to drop some truth bombs on Charles in return, and I love that for her because it shows, despite her attraction to Charles, she remains observant, and as a result, Charles respects her needs, whether they be sexual or not. In fact, as Charles gets to know Sam, he begins to show genuine care for her because he understands that Sam is a kind, honest person who means well and is always mindful of the feeling of others. In turn, this leads to Charles opening up and becoming more vulnerable with Sam. And I don't know about some, but that chemistry they share is like top tier delicious. Like, it has me giggling and twirling my hair and kicking my feet and shit, and like, for real, I just love it. The Sam-Charles situationship is consensual. I think I addressed this before, but this bears repeating. Sam and Charles are adults in their right minds who decided to enter into a mature situationship. No one was being forced or tricked, deceived into something they didn't agree to. Charles drew the line in the sand, and Sam understood what that meant. In fact, she reminds Charles and mentions to others that what they have isn't serious. And funny enough, leave it to Charles to start blurring those lines because of his trauma and need for Sam. Also, to anyone thinking Charles forced himself on Sam when she asked for cuddles only, you are wrong. Like, incorrect 100%. Charles did not force himself on Sam. She said no, and after some flirty cajoling on his part that ended in failure, he agreed to only cuddle in bed. You can clearly see Sam's top and even Charles's top in the next panel. Even the creator went on Twitter to clarify that Charles and Sam did not have sex in this episode. Charles trying to tease and convince/seduce Sam into having sex does not make him a rapist or a predator. In fact, that type of behavior turns Charles off. Your partner can try convincing you, but if you say no and they ultimately acquiesce without you feeling threatened or forced, if you said otherwise, as is the case with Sam, again, does not make them a rapist or predator. Like, holy shit, some people need to learn the difference, specifically Charles haters. Charles is a zaddy, not a father. This is minor, like, it's so minor, but shocked me all the same when I read it. But apparently Charles, to some fans, comes across as a father figure. Like, I get that he mentors Sam professionally and helps her become a more confident individual in her career, but stating that you don't like the charm ship because Charles comes across as a father figure is such a reach and makes me realize that having father issues can really fuck up a person. Like, in fact, I've been metaphorically dying to make a video where I discuss how some people are so quick to label a mature man, whether in personality or age, a father figure in media, when it should be the furthest thing they should do. Not every male qualifies as a father just because they stand next to a child or talk to a younger person. But like I said, that's a video discussion for another time, which, when it comes out, you guys will know. So yeah, Charles as a father figure to Sam, please stop. That was clearly not the intention the creator was wanting to go in, especially when you compare the behavior of Sam's real father. As extreme as that man is, his behavior and interactions with Sam clearly label him as an actual father. So this reason, pretty much whack. In conclusion, it's okay if you or someone else does not like Charles's character or do not like the pairing of Sam and Charles together. Charles does have his flaws, but that doesn't make him a monster. It just makes him human. Maybe the relationship will sail and maybe it will not. But dislike or hate is not an excuse to start falsely accusing a fictional character of something gross and unwarranted. Like, this is how misinformation spreads and leads to media illiteracy, which is detrimental and dangerous when people can't tell the difference between fictional and real life. So just because some people got their fucking degree and think they know everything does not mean they actually do. But what do you think of the controversy and hate surrounding Charles? Is it warranted, or did you have no idea it was even happening, or did you actually agree with my points? Let me know in those comments below. And that's it for this video. Tame Gang Gang, where y'all at? You guys honestly deserve an award for helping me reach almost 1,000 subs. I would not even be making these videos without your support. And for anyone new to the community, check me out if you're into honest pop culture / fandom commentary and critiques, as well as original animatic videos with a plot. Like if you agree, and dislike or comment if you don't. It's a free world. My art will be available in the social media links in the description box below. I'll catch you all on the flip side. Cheers.